Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the first session in the new year of our CTR Factor Hidden Secrets of Leadership series. I know we had a bunch of sessions last year that were well attended, either live on LinkedIn Live or via the Zoom link, and many people watched a recording of many of those sessions. We're hoping that 2025 continues to be a successful year for all of you and for us as well. All we're hoping for is an impact on your leadership skills, your ability to manage your colleagues, the teams that report to you, your clients, your customers, your supervisors, managers, skip level managers in the workplace, and get your work done. Every single topic that we have in this series is about managing and leading people, because our realization after multiple years of working in large companies and running this company is that the toughest part about doing any job is not the job itself. It's the people that you have to work with and for in achieving your results. Some of them are on your team, some of them are in different teams, some of them are customers and clients, some of them are other stakeholders like labor unions or media or community organizations. And so working with all of these stakeholders, juggling all of the multiple interests that these stakeholders have and delivering a good product day in and day out is very challenging for most of us. I don't care where you are in your company, whether you just started or whether you've been around for a while, whether you're at the bottom of the heap or at the top of the pyramid. These are challenges that you have faced, are facing, and will face as part of your career. And what we want to do is make an impact for you in helping you with building the muscles that are needed to manage all of these stakeholders effectively and efficiently and achieve the outcomes that you want from yourself and the organization wants from you. My name is Suri Surinder. This is a slidecast, which is a good combination of slideshow and podcast. You know, podcasts are so popular nowadays. So, of course, we wanted to, get on board that bandwagon. But at the same time, we had real solid content to show you. And so we figured we'd do a hybrid. I'm going to start sharing my screen now and take myself off the screen so you'll be able to see my slides. Those of you that are not in a position to see my slides, because you're either driving or you're not in a place where privacy uh, uh, privacy constraints are absent, you can just listen. Okay, so if you're driving or you're in a public place, plug your AirPods in and just listen, and you'll learn a lot. I guarantee you. It's going to be 45 minutes of straight content with yours truly babbling on and on, but it is based on solid research that we have done, either primary research or secondary research, or it's based upon practitioner wisdom gained from more than 40 years of working experience that I have and other members of our team have within our company. Okay. All right, so here we go. I'm going to start sharing my screen, and you'll start seeing the slides, and hopefully this can work out. Oh, shoot. You know what? I got it. I always forget to share, but I got to share um, by allowing you to share sound. I think that's what I got to do. That, because I have some video clips that I'll share with you today. Okay. All right, so here we go. So today's topic is making better decisions. And the hidden secret here is mitigating unconscious bias, because unconscious biases drive us to decision making that may be suboptimal. I include myself in it. I make suboptimal decisions all the damn time. And it's because I have biases. My decision making process is flawed. What's the fix to it? And why am I talking to you about this when I myself am honestly not that great at it? Well, sometimes it's better to learn from peers that are learning with you than superiors. So I don't lay claim to any special wisdom. I will tell you that I struggle every day to make better decisions. I try to be aware of my hidden biases, my unconscious biases, and I try to counter them when I'm making decisions. Sometimes I'm successful in that, sometimes I'm not. Fortunately, I have a great team around me that counteracts my own biases. This is an important point that I want everybody to remember. It is impossible to get rid of your own biases. You cannot do it if your life depended on it. Don't even try. What you can do is be aware of your biases and mitigate them. That's the best you can do on your own. The other thing you can do to make better decisions is not to make them on your own. To get advice, counsel, opinions, perspectives from multiple people who are not like you. If you're going to your best friend who you've known forever, who thinks exactly like you, and you ask them for their opinion, you ain't doing yourself any favors, let me assure you, because their opinion is going to be a mirror of your opinion. The reason you've gotten along with them for so long in your life is probably because they think like you. You need to go to people who think differently than you. And you need to welcome, you don't need to. I would encourage you to welcome and appreciate different perspectives on your team from your friends, from your colleagues, from your family, and be open to listening to those different perspectives because they will counteract your own unconscious biases. And perhaps as a result of combining your perspective with theirs, you end up in a better place in the decision making. Okay, so that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. A little bit of information about these sessions. We do them every Thursday. This is our first session for this year. We missed 3 weeks over Christmas, New Year's, and the first week that we could have done this was last week, and we didn't because I was doing something else for a client. So this is our first session of this year, but we will do this every week on Thursdays from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. You know, the 49 weeks of this year. By the way, I can't even believe that we're already in the 16th day of the month. This year is going by faster than last year, and last year went by really fast. All sessions are virtual. They are all on Zoom. You can either access it via the Zoom link, or we publicize it on LinkedIn as part of the LinkedIn Live platform, so you could attend it live streaming if you want to. It is a slide cast. You can hear and you can view. If you cannot view, don't worry about it. Just hear me, okay? There is a participant guide for every session, but we offer it only upon request. So you have to self-select yourself to ask for the participant guide. You know, you could go to our profile, CTR Factor, on LinkedIn and send us a message saying, hey, I want the participant guide for XYZ topic. And we will reach out to you and talk to you, work with you on getting you that participant guide. There is also recorded video available of every single session on our YouTube channel. Now, currently, that YouTube channel is a public channel. Going forward, we're looking into making it a private channel. So if you tell us that you want to see the video, we will give you access to the private video channel, the private YouTube channel, and you can watch the video, okay? By the way, this is fantastic content. I know I'm biased, and you don't have to believe me. Just watch and listen to a couple of our podcasts, and you'll see what I mean. There is not one podcast like this that you will get anywhere else, I guarantee you. All of the topics based on real people leadership challenges that we have seen people experience in the workplace and are relevant to all levels. Even if you're a senior VP, executive VP, C-level executive, do not think that you're all made, that you know everything, because you don't. None of us do, okay? Neither do I, by the way. But we love people who are learn-it-alls, who are lifelong learners, who are humble in what they know. They might know a lot, but they're open to the possibility that there is more for them to learn. So this is open to all levels of leadership. State-of-the-art, innovative, and practical tactics and techniques are presented. There won't be anything that run-of-the-mill stuff that you see elsewhere. Even if there is a couple of items like that, we put our own spin on it, and you will see a different view based upon our own primary, secondary research, practitioner wisdoms. All of what you see is proprietary content. It's not drawn from it's not AI generated. I'm not AI generated. I wish I was, given how much hair I'm losing every day, but it's all proprietary content that's developed, cooked and baked by hand. This is home cooked food, okay? Not AI generated. 45 minutes of straight content and 15 minutes of discussion. So the reason we do that is we want to be as efficient as possible in giving you real insights, real tactics. Now, if you really want to learn, I would recommend strongly that you make notes in your iPhone or Android phone. Go to your notes app, type at the top CTR Factor Hidden Secrets Session XYZ. type the topic. This way you can pull up those notes anytime you want and start typing key insights that you hear during the course of the session that appeal to you. You don't have to type the full sentence down. Type down memory joggers. I'm telling you, I'm giving you the keys to the kingdom. You want to become a better professional? Don't just attend this thing and let it be a happy or unhappy memory for you. You know, take the time to take notes and put it in a place on your phone that you can access it later. If you just write it down in a little post-it and you put the post-it in your pocket, it's going to go away in the wash. Okay, you want to take notes, put it in a repository on your phone that anytime if you say, hey, I remember Suri talking about unconscious bias or talking about decision making or conflict resolution, and you type in those keywords in your notes app and it's going to come up with all your notes from that session. Memory jogger notes. Okay, you can earn badges for each session. Again, we want you to reach out to us and ask for the badge. These badges are digital badges that can go on your LinkedIn profile and you can accumulate them over time. You don't have to attend every single session, but every session that you attend will afford you a badge for the topic of that session. If you collect 25 badges, you get a foundational certificate that will be emailed to you. 50 sessions get you, it gets you an intermediate certificate. 75 badges gets you an advanced certificate. 100 badges gets you an expert certificate. Obviously, you have to attend a lot of sessions to earn these certificates. We want to give you something that you can show either on your office or in your LinkedIn profile that says you invested the time in yourself to develop yourself. Like I said, you don't have to attend every session. You can attend whatever sessions work for you. You know, I needed to change this last bullet. My apologies, I didn't do that. But typically we tell you that 4 topics in the current cycle. Okay, so this is a four-week cycle that we're in, and we would tell you typically the 4 topics in this current cycle. What you see on the screen right now are the 4 topics in the previous cycle. So today we're going to do blind spots. We have 3 more topics that we're going to publicize on LinkedIn once we're done with today. Okay, all right. That's the way it works. So let's get into unconscious bias. Now, the last couple of sessions, we have already covered a lot of information on unconscious biases. So what I'm going to do is pick up from where we left off. And
this is an awareness test.
Actually show you, if you remember the last time we showed you a couple of videos and asked you to respond to them. And we learned about our own unconscious biases the last time. The first one was change blindness bias. The bias that we have of not recognizing changes in our environment as they are happening. We had also talked about assessment bias, how we assess the wrong root cause to events, and we ascribe events to incorrect root causes. You know, those were the 2 biases we had talked about the last time that impact our decision making. Today, we're going to talk about a few more biases. The first one is this whole idea of attention bias. Okay, so I'm going to play the video. Hopefully you can hear it. Now, if you're not able to see your screen, then you're going to lose a lot of impact for this video, but no worries, you'll still hear the voice track. And that sometimes that's enough, you know, but if you can watch your screen, watch this video and do exactly what the video says. Okay, here we go.
How many passes does the team in white make? The answer is 13. But did you see the moonwalking bear?
Okay. I guess it didn't, hopefully you guys saw that, and hopefully you saw the moonwalking bear the second time around. The first time around, though, most people don't see the moonwalking bear, even though the bear is walking right in front of you. because you're counting the number of passes that the team in white makes. Okay. This is a perfect example of attention bias. It hits all of us. Whatever we pay attention to ends up getting factored into our decision making. But lots of stuff in the periphery gets ignored because we're not looking for it, we're not paying attention to it. Has this ever happened to you where you're looking for something on your desk and it's staring at you in the face in the middle of the desk, but you miss it? Or you're driving and somehow you miss a stop sign even though it's right there, or you miss a bike rider even though the bike rider is right in front of you. These are all examples of attention bias, and you'd be surprised how many times you are impacted by attention bias. In this case, we asked, or the exercise was, count the number of passes that the team in white makes. Now, if you got the right number of passes, which was 13, that's great, but many people don't even get that right, by the way, So that is a whole other issue, right? Even when we think we know what we're doing, sometimes we don't. That's why I encourage all of you that are listening to this podcast, stay humble. Don't get too overconfident. In this culture, especially in the American culture, we emphasize the value of confidence, self-confidence, knowing what we're talking about. Can I tell you one of my realizations, having lived life for 61 years? Sometimes a lack of confidence is a good thing. Because if you're too confident that you know the answer, you might gravitate to the wrong answer. Always leave a little bit of room in your mind for the possibility that you might be wrong. In this case, many people, when I do this exercise with people, many people don't get the number of passes right. And they swear up and down that it's 11 or 12. And when we show them the video again, they realize, oh, shoot, it's 13, But until then, they say, I can't be wrong because my eyes are really good. My vision is really good. My focus and attention really good. They still get it wrong, okay? When we do this exercise as a group, by the way, in other words, if I do it as a table exercise, most tables get the answer right. You know why? Because you discuss it amongst 5 or 6 or 10 people at a table. Somebody may say 11, somebody may say 15, few people say 13, majority ends up winning. They end up triangulating to the right answer. Okay, so the first insight I want to give you from this little exercise is from that answer 13. Okay, if you didn't get that right, remember that. And the next time you're dead sure that you know the answer to a particular business issue, check with a couple of other people, triangulate. Hey, I'm thinking like this. What do you think? Do you think I'm in the right direction? And encourage constructive dissent. Don't get defensive, right? It's difficult because you're sure you know the answer. But encourage constructive dissent. It doesn't mean that you have to agree with the people dissenting with you. It just, what I'm asking you to do is listen, understand, and consider what the dissenters are saying, because they might have a kernel of truth in what they're saying. That's my first point. The second point is most everybody misses the bear. 80 to 90% of the people that have taken this test miss that bear on that first showing of the video, okay? And the reason for that is because they're all focused on counting the number of passes, okay? They're not focused on watching for something unusual. Plus, remember, the bear is not a polar bear. We said, count the number of passes the team in white makes. If that bear, instead of being a black bear, was a polar bear, you would have seen the darn bear because it's the same color as the color you're looking at. But the bear is a black bear, okay? And so you miss it because you're looking for white and you're looking to count the number of passes, okay? So now if I had said to you, hey, watch this video, something unusual is going to happen. Tell me what you see. Everybody would have spotted the bear. But then if I said to you, how many passes did the team in white make? Nobody would know the answer to that. You with me? So really it's about what you focus on ends up getting the attention. And there's lots of things around what you're focusing on that get missed in every decision, okay? So that's point number 2. Point number 3, as the cognitive complexity of the task increases, the likelihood of you missing relevant information increases. Okay, so if I said to you, count the number of aerial and bounce passes that the team in white makes, chances are even fewer people, currently 10%, see the bear. If I increase the cognitive complexity of the task by asking you to count the aerial and the bounce passes of the team in white, even that 10% that get to see the bear won't see the bear. Okay, so remember, keep some of these things in mind as you're going about your daily duties. There's stuff that you're missing every single day because you're paying attention to one aspect of the decision or one aspect of the project. And so the solution to this is stay humble. Don't think that you know everything. Do not assume that. Ask others around you and ask yourself, what might I be missing? Okay, continuously ask yourself that. All right. Okay, so I may have screwed up that video as I was showing it. Bottom line is, you probably missed watching the bear the first time, but when you see it the second time, you see it. Now, what are the applications of this? This is the really important aspect of our courses. We really apply some of these learnings to our day-to-day jobs. Okay, until then, it's just a cute video. Hopefully, you remember this video. But what are the applications of this, for example, to law enforcement? Well, how many passes, the issues that are counting the pass type issues that typical law enforcement looks at, crime rates, they look at crime rates, okay? They look at arrest rates. They look at crimes prevented potentially, even that perhaps not, but most law departments, sheriff's offices, police units look at crime rates, arrest rates, okay? Crimes prevented, crimes solved. Those are typically count the passes issues. What they don't look at, which is a moonwalking bear issues that are staring them in the face, but what they don't look at is stop and search data. If they're stopping a driver or stopping somebody, a pedestrian, walking on the street, and they're searching them, what types of people are they doing that with? They tend not to look at stop and search data. Now police departments all across the country are doing more of this, after incidents like George Floyd. But prior to that, a lot of police departments were not looking at stop and search data. Even today, many departments don't look at that. Use of force data. What are the number of incidents that you're using force in? And what are the types of incidents? Who are the protagonists that you're using force on? You don't look at that, okay? In custody death data, okay? Special population interaction data, meaning what are the demographics of the people that you are stopping and searching, using force? Within the use of force, what maneuvers are you using on them? Using strangleholds, neck strangles, things like that. Those are the moonwalking bear issues that sometimes police departments don't look at, because if you actually do look at those issues, you will find potentially an unintended pattern of the types of people that you are stopping, searching, using force on, that are unfortunately dealing with in custody death, things like that. And you will not see that unless you look at that data. And some of our recommendations for law enforcement clients that we've had before is hire a student analyst, an intern from college who's good with data and who can present these reports to you on a regular basis. And you're going to get better at what you do simply by looking at the data, okay? Here's an example of how these show up in hiring. Counting the pass issues in hiring are time to hire. Most people who are recruiting, either hiring managers, internal recruiters, or external recruiters, have a massive number that says time to hire. How quickly did you hire for an open position? Does the person meet the requirements of the job? Okay, typically you look at that while you're hiring. Is the person available to start quickly? And is the person local? Is it a local resident? Okay, so these are some of the counting the pass issues that most hiring parties take a look at. Okay, what are the moonwalking bear issues in hiring? Well, Do you have a diverse slate? When you say diverse slate, it's not just by race, ethnicity. We're not expecting people to be hired because they're a certain color. I'm saying diverse slate in terms of experience, education, a gender identity, age, race, ethnicity. Yes. Okay. Um, do you have a diverse slate? A lot of the time you don't look at that. You end up having a slate of people that are very similar to each other. Well, are you really getting the best that you could get if you have a slate of people that are remarkably similar to each other? Perhaps not. Another moonwalking bear issue in hiring is, are the requirements written correctly in the job requisition? Do you actually need an MBA for this particular job? Do you need 15 years of experience for this job? What are the right requirements for success in the role based upon people that have succeeded in the role in the past? Okay, you don't look at that, right? So sometimes the job requirements are so stringent that you end up going to the usual suspects all the damn time. And then you say, well, we couldn't get a diverse, candidate or a diverse slate. Do you have a temporary backfill budget so that you can take a little bit more time to actually find the best person for the job? Or are you under the gun so much in terms of time to hire that you end up taking the first person that's a warm body that has the bare minimum qualifications and hire them? You don't look at that if you have a temp budget for the job so that you can take a little bit more time to find the absolutely best person. And do you have a reload budget for the job? Because the best person may not be in town. They might be somewhere else in the country. Do you have that? Okay. Or hypothetically, could this be a hybrid job? Or could this be a remote, job where it could be done virtually? Those are some of the moonwalking bear issues in hiring that prevent diverse candidate slates, diverse candidate hires, hiring the best person for the job. Again, please remember, qualifications, credentials, expertise, performance should be the first and foremost criteria for any job. Okay. What we should not and cannot do is use those things as a cover for hiring the same type of people all the damn time. And I don't care what you say, whether you're a DEI supporter or not. I'm not saying hire a black person or a brown person. I'd be stupid if I said that. And you would have the right to tell me to buzz off. Okay. What I am saying to you is, a lot of the time, people use some of these constraints of time to hire, local resident, they're available to start right away. They leverage, either intentionally or unintentionally, these constraints end up playing a role in hiring the same type of person over and over and over. And how are you actually going to distribute, influence decision making, distribute, in the right manner to qualified candidates? How are you going to have a diverse distribution of people on your team if you keep going to the same well because of these constraints? That's my point. So hire for qualifications, competence, credentials, but at the same time, keep an eye for making sure you have a diverse candidate slate, and the ultimate candidate that you hire doesn't look and think exactly the same as the other people on your team. Because, when you do that, you're doubling down on your team's strengths and you're doubling down on your team's weaknesses. You want people whose strengths are in those areas where your team is weak. If your team is very tactical and not strategic enough, you need somebody to supplement that with some strategic thinking. You don't want another person who's great at tactical execution. You already got a team that does a good job of that. You need somebody that complements and supplements what your team have. And if you keep going, if you keep counting the passes and missing the moonwalking bears, then that's what's going to happen. Okay. That is the application of this whole idea of attention bias to the work that you do every day. So here's an example on this slide. I show you 15 different ways in which we are biased in terms of our attention. And I want you to look at these ways. And if you can't see your screen, then I'll read it out to you. But where is your attention bias when it comes to the people that you hire, the people that you work with, the people that you tend to like? Okay. So is your bias towards outcomes or towards process? Are you a process-oriented person or are you an outcome-oriented person? Typically, you find people biased one way or the other. Like I'm an outcome-oriented person. I really don't give a rat's patootie what process you use. As long as you do it legally, morally, ethically the right way, I really don't care how you get to the destination. Okay. There are other people who would argue with me and say I'm dead wrong, okay, which I respect. And they'd say if you put in the right process in place, then the right outcomes will pop out. And they're very process oriented. Do this first, then this, then this, then this, you know. So I'm not saying either party is wrong or right. I'm just saying those are two different ways of looking at the world, and we're all biased one way or the other. So I'm asking you to become self-aware of that bias so that if you're outcome oriented, the next time you're looking to hire, look for a process oriented person, maybe. Now they're going to think differently than you. They're going to drive you nuts because they'll focus on the right steps and you'll be like, I don't really care. But they will make you better at looking at process. You will make them better at looking for outcomes. And between the two of you, you will take your organization to a better place. I guess number two, strategy versus tactics. Are you a tactician? Are you biased towards execution tactics, or are you biased towards long-term, forward-thinking strategy? Okay, I tend to be very tactical. Strategy is a blind spot for me. I'm not very strategic. I just put one foot in front of me at one time. I don't plan my life. I don't plan my work. I don't even plan my day. I don't know what the heck I'm going to do an hour from now. I have no idea. For some of us, it'll drive them nuts. Okay, I'm just focused on today, right now, what I'm doing. I don't look ahead well enough. So what do? I need good people that force me to think strategically so I can bust out of that bubble of tactics. On the flip side, if somebody is a strategist and they love strategy, ultimately strategy, in my opinion, so you can see my bias show through, it's what you do today, tomorrow, the next hour that counts. It's actions that count. It's not really strategic thinking because, in my opinion, because you could have a strategy, but once you enter the battlefield, that strategy disappears when you face the competition. So I've always believed take one step forward and then figure out the next step. And over time, you would have made a long journey. Okay. So again, two different points of view. Number three, task versus relationships. What's your bias? Are you task focused? Get the job done. I don't really care about building a relationship with people. Or are you relationship focused that says, I want to, build good relationships because it helps the task. Okay. Helps task accomplishment. Which way are you biased? Be aware of it. And look for those biases in other people. Okay. So that you are aware and you can mitigate it. I tend to be very task focused. I'm not very good at maintaining relationships. I'm outcome focused, I'm task focused, I'm tactics focused. Those are my three biases on these first three things. In my life, I need some process-oriented people, some strategic minded people, and some relationship-oriented people, because those are my blind spots. Quality versus quantity. Do you focus on more or do you focus on better? Okay. Quality versus, I tend to focus on quality. Because of that, I'm late sometimes with the stuff that I submit to my clients. Okay. It has got me in trouble on multiple occasions. But whatever work I put out, it's good work. But sometimes it's not on time. Okay. There are other people on my team that are very time focused. Okay. But sometimes the quality of the work isn't where it needs to be, but the work gets done on time. Okay. Now we need both sorts, right? So where is your bias? Work versus life. Are you work for focused or are you life focused? Do you live to work? Do you work to live? Right? Some people work to pay the bills. They're not focused as much on the job. The job is just a means to an end, and the end is enjoying life. So they work for their vacations, they work for having a good time, they work hard, party hard. There are other people, that work is very meaningful to them. They enjoy their work, they're passionate about their work. And when you ask them what their hobbies are, their work is like a hobby to them. I don't know where your bias is, but I want you to be aware of it so that you can, counteract that periodically. I'm not saying change yourself, but you would benefit from listening to somebody who's the other side of that. I tend to be very work focused. Work gives me a lot of pleasure. Okay. Now, as I get older, I must be honest and say I'm becoming a little more life focused because I don't like to be working all the time. But when I was a little bit younger, I used to work 60, 70 hours a week without breaking a sweat, and I would have a great time because, I enjoyed it. There are other people that would say that's ridiculous. We're only here one time around, and so we should enjoy life. And they've accused me of not being able to enjoy life. And I say to them, my way of enjoying life is enjoying my work. Everybody's different. Speed versus timeliness. We talked about this. Are you focused on getting things done fast or slow, or are you focused on getting things done on time? Okay, so it's two very different things, right? If you're focused on timeliness, you will give a deadline. When a client asks you for a deadline, you're going to pad your deadline a little bit. You're going to put some wiggle room in it because you want to give them the work on time. Okay, so you may say to the client, I'll get you this in a week if you're focused on timeliness. If you're focused on speed, you might say, I'll get it to you tomorrow. But then you might miss that deadline. Where's your bias? Me versus we. Are you an individual focused player or are you team focused? Okay, what's your bias? Again, I can tell you I'm very individual focused. I probably don't work very well in a team. There are other people that are very team focused, that'll say, hey, we live or die as a team. I have many people on my team like that. I have learned and gotten better over time because of that. Truth versus tact. Are you a truthful person that says, I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't care if it hurts you. I don't care if it bothers you. You can't make an omelet without breaking eggs. Or are you a tactful, diplomatic person that says, I may not tell you the full truth because I don't want to hurt your feelings. Again, truth versus tact is a bias all of us have. My dad was very tactful. He's a lovely man who was very diplomatic. My mom was very much direct. It's like, she couldn't play poker because you could tell from her face whether she was like something or not. So again, which side is your bias? Risk versus reward. Some people focus on risk mitigation in their lives. They try to eliminate or mitigate risk. Other people focused on the upside, right? They're not focused on downside minimization. People sometimes are focused on upside maximization. Which side are you on? Alignment versus autonomy. When you run your team, do you believe everybody should be on the same page and row in the same rhythm? Or do you believe in autonomy? Everybody does their own thing. As long as you get to the goal, that's what really counts. If you focus on autonomy, you're an entrepreneurial leader. If you focus on alignment, you're a managerial leader. I tend to be more of an entrepreneurial leader. But that doesn't mean that's the only way. Hire versus grow. Believe in hiring from outside or growing talent from inside. I've always believed in sort of growing inside talent. Maybe not. I've hired from outside as well. Sometimes it helps, but we all have our biases on that. Efficiency versus effectiveness is the number 12. Equality versus equity. Know versus learn, number 14. Do you believe people should have the right answers, or do you believe people should have the right questions? Because if you're a lifelong learner, you love questions because questions lead you to becoming better, knowing more. If you are a lifelong knower, then you believe people should have the right answers to every question. Okay. Again, different ways of looking at the world. Collaborate versus compete. Are you a competitive person or are you a collaborative person? I'm a very collaborative person. I don't like competition. When I see competition, I run. I don't like competing, whether it's video games, whatever it might be. I do not like competing. I like collaborating better. So anyway, so this is where an example of real attention biases. I want you to think about all of these and become more aware of these biases that you have, work on mitigating those biases, and then use people around you who might think differently on these 15 different dimensions to counteract your biases, okay? So that was all about attention bias. We have already talked about change blindness, so I won't go into that this time around, okay? We had also talked about diagnosis bias, and I showed you two pictures. One was John Fetterman, the other was Ted Bundy, and I'd asked you who is more dateable. Most people end up picking Ted Bundy because he looks like an all-American, good-looking guy. John Fetterman looks like he's in a biker gang, but he's a U.S. senator from Pennsylvania now. Used to be the lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania. And before that, used to be the mayor of a town called Braddock, Pennsylvania. Really smart guy. So, but he doesn't look it. So when we look at the picture, sometimes we assess people incorrectly. We also assess events incorrectly, root causes of events incorrectly. Our assessment skills are really bad, I must tell you, in general. Yeah, because we jump at the first explanation that comes to our mind. We don't think about the various possibilities. So we talked about this as well, about how you can have various types of explanations when things that people are underperforming. You could have unfavorable explanations, neutral explanations, or favorable explanations. So we talked about this the last time. That's your diagnosis bias. So that's 3 biases we have covered. I want you to now see this bias, which is also an interesting bias that you see on the screen. It's called value attribution bias, or simply attribution bias, where you give somebody a halo or horns based upon limited information about them. It's similar to assessment bias, but the difference is that assessment bias applies to events and people, but mostly to events. Attribution bias applies to people. You know a little bit about a person and you make up a story about them, okay? That's either positive or negative. Like, for example, if somebody comes from a certain school, maybe you went to the same school, right? You might think favorably about them simply from that little sliver of information that they went to the same school, okay? It doesn't have to be a school. It could be they come from the same part of the country. They're the same age as you. They look similar to your sons, daughters, sisters, brothers. You have no idea how much attribution bias, we have. If you see somebody that looks like somebody you know, that just looks a little bit similar to somebody that you know and that you like, you end up liking the stranger simply because they look like somebody you know and like. You understand what I'm saying to you? This is how our brain tricks us. So, you got to be aware of how your brain is tricking you. You have to be reflective. You cannot be reflexive about these things. It'll lead you down the wrong path in life and in business if you're reflexive. You know how some people say, I'm very intuitive, I make intuitive judgments. Well, snap judgments, intuitive judgments could lead you the wrong way. Okay? Take some time to deliberate, to reflect, to analyze, to assess what you are thinking, how you are thinking. Ask yourself, why am I liking this option versus that option? What's driving that? Okay. Don't just say, well, I just like it. Gut feel. A gut feel could lead you astray. That's my whole point. So this is an experiment that you see on the screen. It's a sociological experiment done by professors at the University of Chicago and MIT. And they responded to real ads in the newspapers with fake resumes. Okay, this was an experiment that was actually conducted. It's written up. It's a peer-reviewed paper done by university professors from marquee universities, where they responded to real ads, real job ads with fake resumes. And the control group of resumes had names like Brendan, Greg, Emily, and Anne, which is sort of, mainstream names, right? Regular kind of names. And then the experimental group had identical qualifications, but they had names like Tamika, Aisha, Rashid, and Tyrone, which are more ethnic sounding names. And they measured how many resumes they had to send out in the control group and the experimental group before they got a positive response from the hiring person. Well, in the control group, they typically had to send out 9 resumes for a response, for a positive response, before they got a callback. 9 resumes for every positive callback. In the experimental group with identical qualifications, but with different names, they had to send out 14 resumes before they got a callback on average. Okay, that's a 50% lower response rate just based on a name. You following me? That's attribution bias. Just based on an ethnic sounding name, a resume with the exact same qualifications as another resume that had a mainstream, okay, there was a massive change in the number of resumes you needed to send out to get a positive response, a 50% change. Now, again, this halo and horns effect happens because our brain tends to look at irrelevant information to do the job and to be successful in the job or the project or whatever it is, we're looking at. So this happens a fair amount. Examples of this happen in the supplier diversity space, for example. A lot of companies think if you're a minority, like if you're a small business, right, that's minority owned, woman owned, veterans owned small business, okay, they just look at that little sliver of information and they assume that these small businesses cannot serve a big entity, a big client. It happens a lot, okay? That's attribution error, because some of these small suppliers do a better job than some of the big suppliers do, okay? We deal with this a lot as a smaller consulting firm and a smaller education company relative to a large company like a McKinsey or a Deloitte. We're really small, right? A lot of people think, well, you're small, can you really serve our needs? Should we work with a Deloitte? And they go and spend millions of dollars with Deloitte when we could have done a better job for them at a fraction of the cost, okay? But that's because of attribution error, okay? Another example is if we go with diverse suppliers, we'll have to lower our standards, attribution error, okay? Same thing, if we hire a diverse candidate, right? We'll have to deal with we have to lower our standards. Well, what makes you think that we lowered the standards? All of the detractors of DEI will tell you, is this a DEI hire? Okay. And you know what I asked them? What is your definition of a DEI hire? What do you mean by a DEI hire? And they'll say to me, well, somebody that got hired because of their race with no attention paid to their qualifications. Okay. I'd say, so what makes you think that these people aren't qualified? Look at their qualifications. Just because they are Black, you think they aren't qualified? Where did I say to you that you should hire people that are Black who are not qualified? Did I stutter? So my point is, a lot of people, all of you all that are out there saying DEI hires are bad, take a look at the qualifications first. And if those people are not qualified, then I absolutely agree with you. Get rid of them, fire them. I don't care if they're Black or brown or green, doesn't matter, okay? But most of the time, you'll find these people are highly qualified. They haven't been given a chance because people are going with the same usual suspects over and over because of this type of attribution bias, okay? If a diverse supplier is not certified, they cannot be woman-owned or minority-owned. This is another attribution error. Are you a certified minority-owned business? Certification takes forever, okay? But you could be a minority-owned business that's not certified as that, and you're still a minority-owned business, but a lot of the time you don't get the credit for that. These are all examples of attribution bias. If you find yourself doing that, stop. Stop, right? Interrupt those autopilot mechanisms. Okay, I think we are at the close, so we're at a little bit past the 1:45. So I'm going to stop it here, and we will resume this topic in terms of blind spots, because this is a really important topic in decision making. It impacts a lot of our lives. So we will do some more work on this next time. Okay. So let me stop it right now. Stop sharing, and we will open up. We will open up the session to any questions, comments, anything that you have. I'm happy to take them. Don't pull your punches. Ask the tough questions. You could either type in the chat box and we'll read out the question, okay? Or if you want to speak up, if you're on LinkedIn Live, you can't speak up. Unfortunately, it doesn't allow for that. But if you're on our Zoom link, you can speak up. So just raise your hand digitally and we'll unmute your microphone and you can speak up as well, okay? Time goes by fast, doesn't it? Any questions, any comments based on what you heard? I'm happy to discuss those. I see a chat box comment that says there's no comments on LinkedIn, which is fine. you know, a lot of the time. You know, one of the disadvantages of waiting till the end for comments is that people forget, or typically we don't do it like this, if you were wondering. Typically our sessions are interactive throughout the session. And the reason for that is you want to be able to have a conversation versus a one-way monologue, the way that I just did it, you know. So our paid for sessions typically have an interactive conversation all throughout the session in the chat box and via microphone. But, you know, for something like this, we're taking an hour of your time. Sometimes people get upset if you have a meandering conversation on the topic. So we wanted to pack 45 minutes of content and wait for comments in the end. But I got to tell you, I never get any comments or questions, which is a pity. All right, I'm going to show you a little bit more, if you don't mind, a little more stuff about what we do and how you can benefit from this. Okay, this is my pitch at the end that I do, and I mean, you know, what the heck am I doing? I just want you to know that we have some of the best programs, paid for programs. Now, what we're doing today was complimentary, but we have fantastic paid for certifications that are either micro certificates on specific topics or macro certificates on multiple topics for all different types of folks at your company, for entry level, mid-level, senior level, for women, for Latinos and Latinas, for veterans, for ERGs, we have mental wellness certificates, emerging leaders, all kinds of certificates. If you think that a more conversational approach to some of these topics would be useful to your company, then refer us. And you're not going to get rich from the referral, but your next vacation will be cared for. I'll tell you that much. You know, we pay up to 20% in referral gifts, either as a gift card or as cash or charity donation to a charity of your choice, products, you know, large screen TVs, iPhones, and discounts towards our services. So it is the richest a referral program that you will ever find in the web. We joke about it that not only is this session free, you could actually make money off of it. So if you know people that would benefit from our programming, find us on LinkedIn, send us a message. We'll get in touch with you, and we'll be happy to reward you for the referral, if in fact it works out and we make a deal. Obviously, if we cannot strike a deal, there ain't no money to hand around. But we're happy to do that if we end up doing well on your referral. Okay, I will wait around for a little more time in case there are any questions. But if not, I wish you a fantastic rest of the week. Well, I guess there's only one day left in the week. So great weekend, a great Friday, and a great week next week. We will meet again Thursday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern time. And we are on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with us, to follow us. CTR Factor is our profile. I'm looking forward to continue to work with you in the new year. May the new year be prosperous and happy and healthy for all of you. Thank you for your support, and I will see you around. Okay, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.